Admiral Yaris felt a spike of adrenaline surge through his veins as he watched Earth cities shatter under the relentless bombardment of his warships. But that adrenaline would soon turn to horror when he realized his colossal mistake. He had drastically underestimated humanity's tenacity and genius for warfare. The year was 2245. Mankind had colonized the solar system, but not yet the stars, when the Nausicaan invasion fleet struck without warning. Massive alien ships ripped open jump points around Earth, disgorging swarms of fighters and unleashing a storm of particle beams and fusion bombs. Hundreds of cities burned, millions perished in the first hour as the Nausicaans pressed their assault, certain of a swift victory. But the men and women of Earth stood their ground against hopeless odds. On the bridge of the battleship Titan, Tactical Officer Jeffrey Richardson gripped his console, knuckles white, as he directed the defense. The young officer's mind raced, searching for any weakness in the Nausicaan lines. There, concentrating fire from the Titan's railguns, he tore open the shields of an enemy dreadnought. A volley of nukes followed, vaporizing the behemoth. Yet for every alien ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. The Titan shuddered as a particle beam sliced through her armored hull. Half the crew died instantly, the survivors choking on toxic smoke. "All ships, fall back to secondary defensive perimeter," the captain ordered, blood trickling from a cut on his brow. "Earth Command reports enemy troops are landing in North America, Europe, Asia. We can't stop them all." Jeffrey watched in numb horror as the remnants of Earth's proud fleet limped into high orbit, leaving the path open for the Nausicaan troop transports descending on the world below, like vultures upon a carcass. But then, as quickly as the despair had overtaken him, a strange calm settled over the young officer, a calm born of certitude and cold, steely determination. Earth was his home, the only home humanity had ever known, and he would be damned if he let these alien bastards grind mankind beneath their boots. He met his commander's eyes across the smoky ruins of the bridge. A look of understanding passed between them. They both knew what had to be done. "Sir, requesting permission to lead a boarding action on the Nausicaan flagship." Jeffrey's voice was steady. "If we can capture or kill Admiral Yaris, the invasion could lose cohesion." The captain held his gaze for a long moment, the weight of the world resting upon his shoulders. Then he nodded grimly. "Permission granted, but you know it's likely a one-way trip." Jeffrey allowed himself a tight smile as he saluted. "I know, sir, but if it gives humanity a fighting chance, it will be worth it." He gathered his strike team with haste, the best Marines and techs aboard the Titan. They knew time was running out. Even now, the Nausicaan ground forces were smashing through Earth's armies, their gene-modded shock troops and hover tanks ripping man and machine asunder with equal ease. This was humanity's darkest hour, but Jeffrey swore he would bring some light to the darkness before the end. Admiral Yaris had made one fatal mistake in his arrogance. He had assumed humans would cower and plead for mercy in the face of his superior technology. He would soon learn how wrong he was, for when pushed to the edge of extinction, mankind would always find a way to push back, and Jeffrey intended to push a nuclear warhead right down the Admiral's throat. As he boarded the captured Nausicaan shuttle, assault rifle in hand, Jeffrey took one last look at the blue-green swirl of Earth beneath him. The fate of his species, of his home, now rested in his hands. Either they would succeed in this audacious gambit, or humanity would end this day. There could be no middle ground. As the shuttle leapt forward into the teeth of the enemy fleet, Jeffrey whispered mankind's ancient battle cry. "Give me liberty or give me death." Jeffrey's pulse raced as the captured Nausicaan shuttle weaved through the alien fleet, drawing ever closer to Admiral Yaris's looming flagship. His strike team, handpicked from the Titan's best, checked their weapons and equipment with grim efficiency. They all knew the odds of survival were slim, but they would gladly sacrifice everything to give Earth a chance. The shuttle shuddered as it slipped into the flagship's hangar bay, disgorging Jeffrey and his men onto the deck. The Admiral had grown complacent, believing no human could penetrate his defenses. That arrogance would be his downfall. "Alpha team, with me to the bridge," Jeffrey whispered into his comm. Beta team, get to engineering and disable this beast. Remember, failure is not an option. The humans split up, moving swiftly through the labyrinthine corridors of the Nausicaan ship. Jeffrey's team encountered a patrol, but before the aliens could raise the alarm, the humans cut them down with precise bursts of gunfire. They stripped the Nausicaan uniforms and donned them as disguises. As they neared the bridge, a sharp firefight broke out. Nausicaan energy beams sizzled past Jeffrey's head as he dove for cover, his men returning fire with armor-piercing rounds. The aliens were tough and well-armed, but the humans were tougher. Jeffrey spotted a weakness in their formation and signaled his team to exploit it. Tossing a flashbang, Jeffrey charged forward, closing the distance with the stunned Nausicaans. His rifle bucked in his hands, dropping 2 of the aliens as his men flanked and eliminated the rest. They breached the bridge doors with a frame charge, stunning the command crew within. Jeffrey zeroed in on Admiral Yaris, standing proud and defiant at the center of the chaos. The human soldier shot the Admiral's bodyguards with cold precision before lunging at the Nausicaan leader himself. Yaris was a skilled combatant, but Jeffrey was a master of hand-to-hand combat. They traded blows in a brutal dance, human agility and cunning pitted against Nausicaan strength and ferocity. With a deft reversal, Jeffrey gained the upper hand, slamming Yaris to the deck and pressing a gun to the Admiral's temple. "Order your fleet to stand down now," Jeffrey demanded, his eyes burning with righteous fury. Yaris snarled, but complied, his voice dripping with venom as he commanded his ships to halt their assault. At the same moment, Jeffrey's demolitions team reported success. They had sabotaged the flagship's critical systems, rendering it a helpless hulk. On the besieged Earth below, the human resistance seized upon the sudden pause in the Nausicaan onslaught. Soldiers and civilians alike rose up in a concerted counterattack, striking back against the alien invaders with unbreakable persistence. Nausicaan tanks burned, and their soldiers fell as humanity rallied to drive the enemy off their world. Aboard the flagship, Yaris raged against his captors, his earlier bravado crumbling in the face of defeat. "You fools! You've merely delayed your doom," the Admiral ranted. "The Nausicaan dominion spans 1,000 worlds. We are but the first wave. Soon, the full might of our species will fall upon you and grind your civilization to dust." Jeffrey met the alien's hate-filled gaze unflinchingly. "You underestimated us, Yaris. That was your first mistake. Your second was assuming that cruelty and oppression could break our spirit." The human soldier leaned in close, his words ringing with conviction. "Hear me well, alien. Humanity will never bow to tyranny no matter the odds. Your kind may conquer 1,000 worlds, but Earth will not be one of them. If you persist in this folly, our planet will become the graveyard of the Nausicaan Empire." Yaris's eyes widened at the human's audacity, but Jeffrey's words were having an impact on the listening Nausicaan bridge crew. Whispers of dissent spread like wildfire. The primitives were supposed to be cowed, not emboldened. How could the invasion be unraveling so quickly? Had the Admiral's arrogance doomed them all? The seeds of doubt blossomed into open mutiny as a senior Nausicaan officer stepped forward and declared Yaris unfit for command. The Admiral sputtered with rage, but it was too late. His authority had crumbled along with his victory. Jeffrey saw his chance and pressed the advantage. "This is your only chance to save yourselves from annihilation," he broadcast to the Nausicaan fleet. "I have rigged this ship's reactor to detonate. Any further aggression against Earth will be met with your total destruction. Withdraw now, or face the consequences." A tense standoff ensued, the fate of 2 civilizations hanging in the balance. But Jeffrey's gambit worked. Faced with a choice between a costly, drawn-out war against a deceptively formidable foe or a humiliating retreat, the Nausicaans chose the path of survival. As the alien fleet disengaged and limped away from Earth orbit, Jeffrey nearly wept with relief and exhaustion. They had done the impossible, snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, and saved humanity from enslavement. The Titan's battered hull stood proudly amid the ruins of Nausicaan battleships, a testament to human courage and resilience. But even as the soldiers and citizens of Earth celebrated their salvation, Jeffrey couldn't shake Yaris's parting words. The craven admiral had spoken of a vast Nausicaan dominion, one that would surely seek revenge for this humiliation. Jeffrey knew that this was only the first battle in a war for humanity's very existence. They had won a respite, nothing more. As the weary soldier gazed out at the stars, he swore a solemn oath. Earth would never again be caught unprepared. They would fortify their defenses, expand their fleets, and seek out allies among the galaxy's other free races. No matter what challenges the future held, humanity would stand firm and unyielding, a shining beacon of freedom in a universe beset by darkness. Tyranny. Jeffrey pored over the intelligence reports from Admiral Yaris, his eyes burning from lack of sleep. The data painted a grim picture. The Nausicans controlled vast swathes of space, their empire spanning dozens of subjugated worlds. Earth's victory, while inspiring, was just the first clash in what promised to be a long and brutal war. He smacked his head on the console. We can't wait for them to regroup. We need to hit them hard and fast before they can bring their full might to bear. Captain Chen of the Titan nodded grimly. What do you propose? Jeffrey's eyes gleamed with fierce intensity. We take the fight to them. A preemptive strike on their homeworld to cripple their war machine at the source. The audacity of the plan sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. But as the gravity of the threat sank in, more and more came to agree with Jeffrey's assessment. Humanity couldn't afford to play defense, not against an enemy of this scale. Shipyards across Earth's colonies roared to life, churning out warships and strike craft at a feverish pace. The Titan herself underwent a refit, her hull scarred but proud. Jeffrey worked tirelessly, reaching out to other races who had suffered under Nausicaan aggression. His impassioned pleas and Earth's example of resistance sparked hope in many. Soon, a motley fleet of alien vessels began assembling alongside humanity's armada. Months passed in a blur of preparation. When Jeffrey was appointed Supreme Commander of the Joint Fleet, he felt the weight of billions of lives settle on his shoulders. But as he gazed out at the assembled armada, he knew they had a fighting chance. The plan was daring, relying on stolen Nausicaan navigational data to plot a course straight to the heart of their empire. If successful, they could shatter the Nausicans' ability to wage war in a single, decisive blow. As the fleet prepared to jump, Jeffrey addressed the assembled crews. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for all free peoples of the galaxy. Victory or death. A chorus of cheers erupted across the comms as the armada surged into hyperspace. They emerged deep in Nausicaan territory, catching the enemy completely off guard. But their element of surprise was short-lived. A Nausicaan patrol stumbled upon the fleet, raising the alarm before they could be silenced. Jeffrey's voice rang out, crisp and clear. All ships, engage! Fighters, clear us a path to the capital! Space lit up with weapons fire as the two forces clashed. Human and alien craft wove between hulking Nausicaan warships, their shots punching through shields and armor. On the ground, strike teams materialized inside key facilities, fighting tooth and nail to seize control. Jeffrey stood on the Titan's bridge, coordinating the assault with laser focus. Cruiser group, target those shipyards. Bomber wings, take out their planetary defenses. The battle raged for days, losses mounting on both sides. But slowly, inexorably, the Allies gained the upper hand. Antimatter warheads reduced Nausicaan military installations to ash. The once proud capital lay in ruins, its defenders in full retreat. Jeffrey led a final push to capture the Nausicaan leadership. His Marines fought their way through the streets, only to find alien infiltrators had beaten them to the heavily fortified command bunker. Deep underground, Jeffrey came face to face with the Nausicaan Emperor himself. The alien ruler's eyes widened in shock at the human before him. How is this possible? The Emperor croaked. Jeffrey's voice was steel. Your empire ends today. Surrender, and your people may yet survive. The Emperor slumped, broken by the devastating assault on his homeworld. With trembling hands, he signed the documents of surrender, ceding all Nausicaan territories to the Allied forces. As the fleets regrouped in orbit, A palpable sense of disbelief settled over the crews. Against the odds, they had prevailed. But Jeffrey knew the fight was just getting started. New threats would arise to fill the power vacuum left by the Nausicaans. He gazed out at the stars, mind already turning to the challenges that lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, and humanity's journey was only beginning. Jeffrey stood on the bridge of the Titan, his eyes scanning the latest intelligence reports. The taste of victory was still fresh, but a new threat loomed on the horizon. A young lieutenant approached, datapad in hand. "Sir, long-range scouts have detected significant Nausicaan fleet movements in the Draxius system," she reported, her voice tense. Jeffrey's brow furrowed as he studied the data. "Looks like not everyone got the surrender memo. Who's leading this splinter faction?" "Admiral Kovacs, sir. He's rallying hardliners under the banner of death before dishonor. Our estimates show his force is growing by the day." Jeffrey pounded his fist on the console. "Damn it, we can't let them regroup. We need to hit them hard and fast before this becomes a full-blown resurgence." He called an emergency meeting of Allied commanders. As they gathered in the war room, Jeffrey laid out the situation. "Ladies and gentlemen, our victory is far from secure. Kovacs is amassing a significant force in the Draxius shipyards. If we don't act now, we'll be facing a renewed Nausicaan invasion force." Murmurs of concern rippled through the room. An Arcturian admiral spoke up. "What do you propose, Fleet Admiral?" "A preemptive strike," Jeffrey said, his voice firm. "We hit Kovacs' power base before he can fully consolidate. I want every ship we can muster for this operation." The next days were a flurry of activity as the Allied armada assembled. At its heart was humanity's newest warship, the Valiant. Jeffrey toured the vessel, marveling at its experimental weaponry. "She's a beauty," the ship's captain said proudly. "Those Nausicaan bastards won't know what hit them." As the fleet approached the Draxius system, an eerie calm settled over the ships. Jeffrey stood on the Valiant's bridge, tension coiling in his gut. Something felt off. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. The tactical officer's voice rang out. "Multiple detonations detected. It's a minefield." Jeffrey watched in horror as Allied ships were torn apart by antimatter explosions. The Nausicaan counterattack came swiftly, waves of enemy vessels pouring from hidden positions. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Jeffrey barked. "Return fire." The space around Draxius erupted into chaos. Laser fire and missiles crisscrossed the void as the two fleets clashed. Jeffrey coordinated the Allied response, but Kovacs' forces fought with fanatical intensity. A nearby cruiser exploded, rocked by a Nausicaan bioweapon. Jeffrey's stomach turned as he saw the crew's flesh melting through their suits. Even the Valiant shuddered under the impact of kamikaze fighters. "We're cut off from our reinforcements," his XO reported grimly. "Allied casualties are mounting fast." Jeffrey's mind raced. They needed a game-changer, fast. His eyes locked onto Kovacs' flagship, visible in the distance. "Prepare a skeleton crew," he ordered. "We're taking the Valiant on a little adventure." As the Valiant disengaged from the main battle, Kovacs took the bait. The Nausicaan flagship peeled away in hot pursuit, leaving the Allied fleet some breathing room. What followed was a deadly dance through the debris-strewn system. Jeffrey pushed the Valiant to its limits, juking and weaving to avoid Kovacs' barrage while returning fire at every opportunity. "Fire solutions locked, sir," the weapons officer called out. "Fire everything we've got," Jeffrey commanded. The Valiant unleashed hell, its experimental weapons tearing through the Nausicaan flagship's defenses. Kovacs' return fire was fierce, but Jeffrey's evasive maneuvers kept them one step ahead. After a grueling exchange, Jeffrey saw his chance. "Target their engines and weapon systems. Let's clip this bird's wings." A final salvo from the Valiant left Kovacs' ship crippled and drifting, but the Nausicaan admiral wasn't done yet. His engines flared to life one last time as he aimed his gutted vessel straight for the Valiant. "Evasive action!" Jeffrey shouted. "All power to forward shields." The Valiant's railguns roared, unleashing a relentless barrage that tore Kovacs's ship apart before it could complete its suicide run. When the dust settled, only the Nausicaan's escape pod remained intact. Jeffrey's voice was cold as he hailed the pod. "Admiral Kovacs, your fleet is in shambles and your ship is destroyed. Surrender now, or be obliterated." There was a long pause before Kovacs's defeated voice came through. I surrender." Under Jeffrey's watchful eye, Kovacs transmitted the surrender order to his remaining forces. Without their leader, the Nausicaan resistance crumbled. As reports of enemy ships standing down flooded in, Jeffrey allowed himself a moment of relief. The Nausicaan threat was finally, truly over. But as he looked out at the battered Allied fleet, he knew the cost of this victory had been steep. The taste of victory turned bitter in Jeffrey's mouth as the Valiant's warning klaxons blared. He rushed from the celebration, boots pounding on the deck plating as he sprinted to the bridge. The ship's computer spat out a stream of data, each line more dire than the last. "Status report!" Jeffrey barked, his eyes scanning the flickering readouts. Lieutenant Commander Chen's face was ashen. "Sir, the antimatter containment field is failing. We've got maybe an hour before total reactor breach." Jeffrey's stomach dropped. He stared at the holographic display of Earth, billions of lives ignorant of the devastation hanging over their heads. His fingers flew across the console, running simulations. The results were grim. An uncontrolled detonation this close to the planet would be catastrophic. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel," Jeffrey ordered, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "I want a skeleton crew prepped for emergency maneuvers." As crew members scrambled to the escape pods, Jeffrey pulled his senior staff aside. "We're going to steer her away from Earth and initiate a controlled detonation." Captain Alyssa Kane's eyes widened. "Sir, with all due respect, that's a suicide mission." "I'm aware, Captain," Jeffrey's voice was iron. "But I won't risk Earth. Not after everything we've sacrificed." The bridge erupted in protests, but Jeffrey silenced them with a raised hand. "This isn't up for debate. I'm staying with the ship." He turned to Kane, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're the best damn officer I've ever served with, Alyssa. Earth will need your leadership in the days to come." Tears welled in Kane's eyes as she snapped a crisp salute. "It's been an honor, sir." As the last of the crew evacuated, Jeffrey settled into the command chair. The remaining bridge officers took their stations, faces grim but resolute. "Plot a course away from Earth, maximum thrust," Jeffrey ordered. "Let's put as much distance between us and home as we can." The Valiant's engines roared to life, propelling the dying ship into the void. A trail of radiation marked their passage as they hurtled past the moon. In his final hours, Jeffrey worked tirelessly. He recorded messages for his loved ones, promoted deserving officers, and issued his last commands. When he reached Sarah's message, his voice caught in his throat. "Sarah, my love, I'm so sorry. Know that every moment with you was a gift. I go to my rest knowing Earth is safe, thanks to the sacrifices of so many brave souls. I love you always." The ship's computer chimed, a harsh reminder that time was running out. Jeffrey looked at his remaining crew, pride swelling in his chest. "It's been my greatest honor serving with each of you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Today, we save Earth one last time." Jeffrey's finger hovered over the self-destruct sequence. He took a deep breath, savoring these final moments of life. "For Earth," he whispered, and pressed the button. The Valiant erupted in a blinding flash, the fury of its detonation visible even from the surface of Earth. In that instant, Jeffrey Richardson and his valiant crew joined the stars they had fought so hard to protect. Days later, as the dust settled and the true scope of Jeffrey's sacrifice became known, Earth mourned. Fleet Admiral Kane stood before a solemn crowd, her voice carrying across the silent gathering. "Admiral Richardson gave everything for Earth, not once but twice," she said, her eyes glistening. "We honor his memory by carrying forward his vision of a free and united galaxy." In the central memorial, Jeffrey's uniform stood as a testament to his courage. Visitors paused to pay their respects, many leaving flowers or personal tokens of gratitude. Kane threw herself into her work, overseeing the integration of Earth's military into a new galactic coalition. The shipyards that once churned out weapons of war now produced vessels of peace and exploration. And in a small house on the outskirts of what was once San Francisco, Sarah Richardson sat on her porch. Her weathered hands clutched a hollow photo of Jeffrey, his smile frozen in time. She looked up at the night sky, imagining him among the stars. A brilliant streak of light caught her eye. A shooting star, perhaps, or maybe something more. Sarah smiled, a bittersweet ache in her chest. "Good night, my love," she whispered to the heavens, "until we meet again."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.